I'd like to begin by thanking so many of you who have booked me and proposed me to your clients these many years. Together we have made a big difference. That's why I'm so excited to talk to you about my new book coming out in January, titled Stepping Up: How Taking Responsibility Changes Everything. Companies like Kimberly-Clark, Walmart, and McDonald's have already booked me to bring this important message to their people. I think finger-pointing and blame, as well as a lack of personal responsibility, is one of the biggest problems facing most companies, most families, and even society itself. In a company, for example, people are always saying that someone else needs to change, my boss, the other department, and people are often saying that someone else should do something about the big problems that we face in our world today. This is a book about not being a victim, but instead claiming our power to change things. It is about not talking about what someone else needs to do, but about stepping up and taking action ourselves. Studies show that Americans are feeling more like victims today than at any time in the last 40 years. My message in the book and in my talks is simple and profound. When we stop looking to anyone else to change or lead change, we are more powerful, have a bigger impact, are happier, and are more successful. Whenever we're pointing out to someone else, our spouse, our boss, our company, and telling them to change, we are feeling and acting like victims. This does not mean, by the way, that your boss might not be a tyrant. Your spouse may be partly to blame for the problems you're having. The market is, in fact, tough, and the other department may not be doing their part. It's just that you can't fix them. You can only fix yourself. It's really a place of great power. Stepping up is also about stepping up our personal game. I spoke recently to a group of sales associates at a very successful mutual fund company. The salespeople were all good, but the company was challenging them to get even better. My talk on stepping up your game in work and life had a profound and simple message, which was we have to always continually push ourselves to improve. It had a great impact on the audience, and one of the things I talked about was how stepping up means seeking feedback and not defending. As a speaker, for example, even though I've given thousands of talks, after every one of my talks, I ask my clients to tell me one or two things I could have done differently. And by the way, when people give us feedback, there is only one appropriate response. Say thank you, tell me more. Never defend. Instead, just listen. In my talks, I also tell inspiring stories of people who stepped up in and out of business, like the story of two high school students who stood up to bullying and ignited a movement against bullying all over the world. You see, I think stepping up and taking responsibility is a message whose time has come. I recently gave a talk to a group of leaders at Walmart about stepping up. The head of their healthcare division wrote me a note afterwards saying, and I quote, "Dr. John Izzo's presentation was stimulating, thought-provoking, and entertaining all at the same time. We were truly amazed how he was able to incorporate our company's values and core beliefs into his presentation. We felt," and I quote, "he had been a 20-year team member of our team." Now, first of all, thanks for your time. But second, I want to remind you I have a great track record of working with bureaus. One bureau booked me for 3 events with a Fortune 50 company 4 years ago, and we just celebrated our 90th event for that client last month. Now, if you'd like to see a clip from a talk I did on stepping up, just keep on watching this video. In the meantime, I want to tell you how confident I am that this message and this new book will resonate with your clients. I look forward to talking to you about how this message and this talk can make a big difference for your clients. Thanks again for your time. The Surgeon General was up here on the stage a little while ago talking about the challenge of healthcare in America. And I'm thinking to myself, you got 2 challenges in front of you really in this room. One is this big challenge for America. How do we have affordable health care? How do we really meet the health care needs of Americans, get people to take their prescriptions, et cetera? And then you've got this need of Walmart to win the next generation of the customer so you don't become levies. And you might ask yourself, can I really make a difference in that? And I want to tell you a wonderful story. Just after September 11th, about 6 months later, in the winter of 2002, I'm in Cleveland, Ohio. I just gave a speech. I'm about to catch an airplane to give another one, and I'm late. It's an icy, snowy day. I get there just in time to be the last one to get on the plane. I sit down. I no sooner have put my bag under the seat that the woman next to me, who has not even introduced herself to me, turns to me and says, "My boss is such an idiot." I said, "Excuse me?" She said, "My boss is such an idiot. He's sending me up to this godforsaken place. They never buy anything. They never will buy anything. My boss is such an idiot." Now, the guy across the aisle overhears her and says, "Lady, not only is your boss an idiot," he said, "but the people who run this airline are idiots." He said, "Look at this, no leg room." He said, "They lost my bag last week." He said, "We're late as always." He said, "Look at the ice on these wings. We're going to die on this thing." I'm literally surrounded by a feast of negativity. It's literally surrounded by negative people. And finally, mercifully, we take off. The ice blows off the wings. We take off, and the feast continues. And I don't know about you. Any of you ever had this experience? You come to Walmart on Monday morning. You're ready to be the positive virus, and you got a few people around you who are negative, and suddenly you find you catch it, right? I mean, I'm a pretty positive guy, but about 15 minutes into the flight, I'm calling my boss an idiot, and I work for myself, right? Now, it finally reaches the height of negativity when in those days they were still serving something on airplanes. They brought this kind of wrapped up Subway sandwich, wrapped up in cellophane, and they put it on our trays. And the airline is run by idiots guy actually opened it up and he sniffed it. He sniffed the meat and he rang his flight attendant button and she came back and he held it up. He said, "Miss, this is a bad sandwich." And I love what she did because she'd obviously had enough of all of us. She took it in her hand and said, "Bad sandwich, bad sandwich." And she put it back on his tray and left. That's it. So you got the mood, right? It's like, it's horrible. Now, about 5 rows in front of us at the bulkhead, there's a little boy about 2 years old. And you know how little kids on airplanes love to stand on their parents' lap and look over the seat, right, so they can see everybody? Well, all during the first half hour or so of the flight, he's trying to do that, but he can't quite do it. A couple times I saw his hair. I even saw his eyebrows a couple times, but never his face. He was like a little jack-in-the-box kind of going like this. And then, sure enough, about 30 minutes into the flight, he finally gets his head above the seat, and he rests his chin there, almost like a little chipmunk. And it's almost like he didn't realize we were all in the plane with him because as soon as he saw us, he just smiled. And I'm not exaggerating, within 1 minute, he transformed the 5 rows behind him. The airline is run by idiots. Guy was going like this, trying to get him to smile again. My boss is an idiot lady, turned to me and said, "You got kids?" "Yeah, 3. How many you got? 2. How old are they?" She said, "We should be a little more positive like that kid. Why don't you go get him?" "Go get him." So I went up to his mother and said, "Could we borrow him for a while?" She said, "Sure, go for it," right? "It's all yours. 2 years old. It's all yours." I bring him down. He's dancing in the aisles for us. We're all having fun. Now, it was such a simple thing, but a light bulb went off in my head. Most of us only influence about 5 rows around us, if you really think about it. Most of us only influence about 5 rows. But in that 5 rows, we have tremendous influence. Like, how much influence realistically are you going to have on whether Walmart wins the next generation customer or becomes Levy's? And on the one hand, I could say almost none at all. And then I could remind you that whether Walmart does that or not, all depends, is only one thing. Aggregately, what every one of you and the thousands of people that work at Walmart do in your 5 rows. Nothing more. If you step up in your 5 rows, and you step up in your 5 rows, and you step up in your 5 rows, and you step up in your 5 rows, Walmart wins the next generation. What about bullying in schools? I love what that kid Travis said when they interviewed him on national television. He said, "I don't think we stopped bullying that day." He said, "But if even a small percentage of us would just step up and do what we can, we could stop most of it." What he really was saying was, if just a few kids like us stepped up in their school and stepped up in their school, in their 5 rows and in their 5 rows and in their 5 rows, maybe bullying could stop. Think about even the biggest problems we face, like global warming. And I want to take hats off to Walmart. You have taken a leadership role in doing something about greening business, and I want to add my admiration for that. But think about this for a minute. How are we going to stop global warming? I'll tell you how. 5 rows at a time. The car you drive, the decisions you make, what you recycle and you don't recycle, 5 rows at a time. And think about health care in America. Walmart can't solve it, but in your 5 rows, you're doing your part. And I want to remind you before you leave this room, what you do in your 5 rows, whether it's for that woman who was in my post office that day, for that kid who needs glasses, that senior who needs prescription, if you add those 5 rows up together, you make something really great. And I want to thank you for doing it. Keep it up. God bless you, and thank you for having me. Thanks so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.